maybe a couple ribs of wood.
And maize.
Of course, you always gotta have corn cobs.
Yeah, the Indians loved maize. Yeah, the Indians loved maize. And by Indians, I mean Native American Indians, indigenous peoples, not people from India. They may or may not love maize. All right, well, let's cook some lunch. Let's make a fine lunch, as the title says. Cameron's here. He's pulling a couple of fine balls, I think.
Indeed.
I think I will pull a couple bowls in a little bit as well. But first I'm going to get these hamburgers started, because we're making hamburgers for lunch.
I'm going to look in the cabinets and hunt for sides. Since you moved in, I keep hiding sides in all the cabinets. I'm going to see which there are. Do you like Hormel chili, no beans, or original baked beans with your hamburgers?
I could potentially go for either.
Alright, if it's Hormel chili, no beans, it's pretty damn good. Let's just do that. That's just
okay, we can make chili burgers.
Totally, yeah.
Alright. You pretend we're the boat. Yep. Yeah, chili burgers. Alright. So I'm washing my hands right now, in part to get all of this resin from the plants off of my fingers. Obviously, soap and water doesn't wash it off very well because it's not water soluble. That's why I'm going to go get the rubbing alcohol from in here. All right. So, I'm going to use this rubbing alcohol on these hands, as per meow. And in this way, I should get off the sticky resin on my fingers.
I think there's more cream of corn if you want that as a side as well.
I think chili's adequate as a side. Well, you know, it's weird. This didn't really help at all. And you feel even stickier after I wash that off than before I washed that off.
I think that mechanics abrasive hand cleaner is the thing, but you probably don't have to.
Put a little salt. That'll work probably. To be abrasive. Alright, good enough. They're clean and mostly stick free. Not perfect, but you know, you can't expect perfection, only progress. As they taught me in Alcoholics Anonymous. We strive for progress, not perfection. So let's make a little progress on turning on some lights, so that it's not so dark in here. There we go. Hi, bro. I am doing cooking. Specifically, I'm making hamburgers. Cameron heated up some chili in the microwave. So we're gonna have chili burgers. Cameron, I assume you want 2 burgers?
Sure.
Okay. We're going to need 4 of these cheeses. Alright. Here we go. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to put some breads in here. Five, 6, 7, 8. I need 8 breads. Good enough. Hi. Sorry, it should be pointed this way. Hi, Mean Bird. Hi, Show Media. Yeah, it's just a regular old toaster oven. You're right about that for sure. Now we're going to take out 4 of these burger patties. We're going to lovingly place each of them into this pan. 2 hamburger patties. 3 hamburger patties.
Cheeseburger.
4 hamburger patties. Okay, these 4 hamburger patties don't really fit in this pan, so I'm going to get the bigger pan so I can cook them all in one pan. Should all fit in this one. More or less. Okay. That's fine. You know what? That's fine. You be difficult. I can take your hardest punch, difficult pan and difficult patties. There. That'll go down, fit into there soon enough. Let me pop this so that it doesn't keep beeping at me. And next what we're going to do, we're going to put these patties back in the freezer. Let's get you a more wide angle view here so you can see all of the exciting stuff going on. Alright, now next, I want to chop up some onions. So, I've got a little piece of onion here. It's left over from last time I chopped onions. It's still good. So I'm going to just chop this up, and that will be our onions. You can see the onion cutting going on, not very well. Okay. Well, don't worry. I am caring a lot about cinematography. So I will move you to where you can see better. These are the onions I have. You want to chop these onions up small. Like McDonald's style small, ideally. But as soon as you get tired of chopping them, then that's small enough. Okay, perfect. There go my glasses. Now I've got the onions cut. But hamburgers require more than just onions and bread and hamburger patties. They also require cheese. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get these plates spread out as much as possible before I put the meat on them. 1, 2 breads, 3 breads, 4 breads. 1 bread, 2 breads, 3 breads, 4 breads. Okay. Now the breads are toasted. We're making good progress here on the patties, which are sizzling away right here. That's right. I'm not taking you to Casabianca, but I'm taking me and Cameron to Casa de Hamburger And Cameron's bringing a little bit of a spicy sensibility by heating up a can of chili so we can have chili burgers. An all-American tradition if I've ever heard of one. Putting basically meat and tomatoes on top of a meat patty. Meat tomato mush on top of a meat patty. That's a good burger. That's a bold choice in burger making. Nobody's going to accuse you of being too meek in your burger construction. I'm going to need 4 cheeses. I got 2 right here. Open up this other bag of cheeses and get 2 more cheeses. This provides 1 cheese for each of the 4 hamburgueses. Cheese number 1. Cheese number 2. Cheese number 3. Cheese number 4. There. Now it's time to split these burger patties. Obviously, as the burger patties get more cooked, they get smaller, so now they all fit just fine in the pan. Alright. That's a good start. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of flavor in the form of this Patties garlic herb salt stuff. I want to kind of get that garlic salt stuff spread around into this oil a bit so it's not too concentrated in any one spot on the burgers. Do a little bit more on this side. Not too much. There. That's the right amount. Now we're going to take these onions, and we're going to put them on the other bread, like this. There you go. Onions for everybody. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the, yeah, they need to be flipped in, don't worry. Alright, now, what we're going to do is we're going to get the ketchup, and we're going to get the chili first.
The chili might need, it might need another minute.
Okay.
It might not be too warm. I just put it in for 1 minute, and my experience is...
Let's stir it a little bit and give it a minute.
Yeah, very cool.
Alright. So we're going to give that chili in the microwave another minute to get hot, and then we'll put that over the cheese. We'll put the burger patty on top of the chili, and then we'll put that whole thing over onto the onion side. Oh, right. So, I'm not sure with the addition of the chili how much we really need the condiments, but I think I am going to put a dab of ketchup, a dab of mustard, just out of respect for tradition. So we'll put that here, right? Yeah, 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 yeah. And then we get a little bit of this mustard here, and we'll meow this as per meow. Yeah, yeah, just dab, because we do have chili to put on, which is kind of like a condiment too. All right. Hot, 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 hot. That is very hot, hot. Okay, I'm going to grab this hot chili, bring it over here. These patties look like they're more or less done-ish. Let's say they're done. But I say a lot of things, so. Alright, now with the chili here, what we're going to see, we're going to put this, give this chili on top of this part right here. Okay, put this chili down. And we can turn this off now. Gonna set that down on top of the chili. Set that down on top of the chili. Repeat and repeat. Okay. Okay. And as I bring that off, I'm going to complete the sandwiches by doing this. Yeah. And then, yeah. And then, yeah. And lastly, yeah. That one didn't come out so good. That's fine. Next, we're going to put a couple of these chips down. Why are these all? What happened to these? I don't even know what happened to them. But there they go. Alright, now we'll get some Doritos instead. And then lastly, we will get, well, really two more things. The first other thing we're going to get here is this. Okay, and then the last thing we get is going to be a couple of paper towels. This is yours, Cameron.
Oh boy. Thanks.
And then I'll put these cheeses back in the fridge. Hi, Iron Line. Hi, New Groove. Hi, Winston's mom. Hi, Show Media. Hi, Plato ABC. Hi, Harish Patel. And any other parties who are here that I did not name. Hello. Oh, put the ketchup and mustard away too. Now, I get my plate. I get this. These are chili burgers, so it's going to be a little bit messy. I think we just have to come to terms with that.
Did you put any condiments on it? Or is it
Yes.
condiment free?
No, it's got ketchup, mustard, and chili, if you consider chili a condiment.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Now we're cooking with biscuits. Okay. The delicious pickle.
That's great. And you have the big plates, so stuff's not falling off the plate for a needless reason.
No, I'm still getting food all over me, though. But that's okay. Mmm. So very delicious.
Yeah, good job, Eric. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Good call on the chili. Really makes it taste like the boat. Hi, Joby. Oh, yeah. Cameron's here.
What's up, people?
We spent the morning doing some serious harvesting and manicuring work.
Our nails look great.
Yeah, they look fantastic. I think possible ways the world might end is also an interesting topic. I wouldn't call them exactly theories on how the world would end, but I would say that we can articulate ways in which the world might conceivably end and evaluate them for likelihood. Yes, I have. Show Media wants to know who you think will win the election.
Who will win? Oh, I could flip a coin and, be the same accuracy as me deciding that. I have no idea. No clue.
I think probably Kamala will win, but
Enough people hate Trump that they'll go out and vote for Kamala, but enough people love Trump that they'll also vote for Trump.
well, I think there's plenty of good reason to hate Kamala, too.
Yeah. She completely failed at her job.
We are having chili burgers. It is delicious.
Yeah, it really is good. If I went to a hamburger stand and got this, I'd be totally happy.
I guess it's likely that, I guess that Kamala is more likely to do more significant harm to the country than Trump, probably. But Trump's a bit of a loose cannon, not a bit of it, he's totally a loose cannon, so you never really know what you're gonna get. And Kamala doesn't seem to care at all about whether what she's saying makes any sense, is feasible, is part of the president's job, or anything like that. She just says a bunch of random shit. So I don't know how effective she's gonna be. The idea of doubling federal tax revenue. How fucking insane.
Now, have I seen something that's kind of edited together, or have I seen her real opinion about people jumping the border, which is, si se puede, like, jump the border. If you can, go for it.
I mean, I don't know what her position on that is. I don't think that's what one's position on immigration is what anybody should be voting on.
Do you think that the border should be secured, or people should be able
Sure.
to come across? And
I mean, I think we should make and enforce immigration law. So we cannot enforce whatever immigration law we make, whether it's lenient, admits a lot of people, or restrictive, admits few people. We cannot enforce it without first securing the borders.
I believe she was the border czar, and I don't know if the media that I'm hearing is false or she's completely failed at securing the borders.
It's not her job. She's vice president. What the hell can she do about it? Nothing.
I thought they had like a mission, and I thought her mission was to be the border czar.
I mean, it's all pure insanity, right? Because it's a wedge issue that only matters because it's a wedge issue. Everybody should agree that regardless of what immigration policy the U.S. decides on, whether it's let's let a lot of people in legally or let's let few people in legally, we should in fact have control over the border and be able to implement that law that's been passed, regardless of what it is. No sane person should disagree with that.
It seems reasonable to enforce a border people can't just cross.
Well, you know, if the Democrats want more liberal immigration laws, then they need to get more liberal immigration laws passed and be able to enforce them. And they're going to do that with a secure border. Don't try to sidestep it by saying, let's have a porous border with lots of illegal immigration. Okay. How will I go about doing that? On which aspects of my sinful lifestyle ought I repent for specifically? Is it my I wouldn't imagine it would be my tendency to be honest and correct. So, do tell.
Phil K must have quite the live stream.
Well, I'm guessing Phil K has inside information as to how other people should live. I mean, The thing is, there are plenty of reasonable things we can all agree on, right? Like, you might say we should let a lot of immigrants in. And I might say, or they might say, we should let few immigrants in. But all people should agree that whatever the decision is about letting a lot or a few, that we can actually implement that decision. There shouldn't be any dispute of that, right? Because if you want to get your way when you win the argument and you win the law that you want, then you're going to need to be able to have control over the border, regardless of what your way is.
So to pass a law that is unenforceable is not the way to do it. You have to get your police force in order first, or whatever.
Well, I mean, you just gotta, if you want to enforce any immigration policy, you have to be able to account for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Cookie, my BBC is not for you, okay? And you know, my race is constantly changing. Sometimes it's a BWC, sometimes it's a BAC, and there's a BNAC. Thanks, it's chili. I'm eating a chili burger, so it's kind of to be expected. Yeah, I gotta put the air conditioning on. It's warm in here. It's actually 68 in here, which is standard temperature, but
Hi. What's going on?
well, I'm not an immigrant here because I was born here. That's how you determine whether someone's an immigrant to given places, whether they're born there.
Yeah, sure.
I was born in the state of California. So, I'm not an immigrant to the country. I'm also not an immigrant to the state. I am a native. I'm a First Nation. I'm the very First Nation, in fact.
Somebody told me I'm a first generation American because my mom came here on a boat from another country.
Mm-hmm.
Not the boat isn't the reason, it's that she's an immigrant.
Yeah, that's true. And you'd be first generation. But I'm not. I mean, even so, you're still not an immigrant because you were born here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's what they're pretending. I think they're just saying, we don't care about history. We just want a good reason to hate those damn Republicans or those damn Democrats. Wow, I am filling up on billing, but yeah, I mean, sure, they ignore parts of history. But the thing is, we can't make our immigration policy today based on our forefathers' attitudes towards it. We have to evaluate what's best for the nation state in the status quo and make our policy accordingly. We might acknowledge that there's some hypocrisy there, but I don't think that acknowledgement means we have to change the approach. Are there any Russian-speaking migrants in California? I don't meet many, if any, but I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, I'm sure there are plenty.
I mean, I did know one. I was the handyman, fix-it guy at the private school I once taught at. He was a bit of a drunk. He drank vodka during work and stuff, you know. You know, I got told one time to go back to where I come from Americans. It didn't look white enough for them. Just the men need to get out of here. The white women can stay. Is that what the Indians said way back when? All right. Big tits, you can get over here. Dude, get back on that boat. See you later. William asked Eric, if I send you a shirt, would you chili stain it for me? You know, I don't normally eat chili burgers. This was a collaborative project between me and Cameron. Mm-hmm. As he was the one who suggested, hey, how about some chili? And I'm like, how about some chili? You need more napkins?
I'm good. I got just the right amount. Thanks.
Well, that's understandable. I get told that fairly often as well. When I walk through a town in the Holy Land, crowds of boys come out and say to me, "Get out of here, Baldy. Get out of here." You know what I say about that? Russian smushin'. Oh man, I'm full. But I only have like one bite of burger, so I have to finish it. I don't know. Hello, lamb. Obviously, a lot of people think it's a big deal because just think about how many commercials there are on TV for like hair treatment things. But
Oh, baldness?
yeah,
Oh, it's a big deal to people.
I've never worried about it for even a second.
My dad was bald. I saw it as like what your dad and your grandpa are, and whatever.
That's true here, lamb. And I have, on multiple occasions in the past, objected to that. That this is not fair. You know, you see on like dating sites and stuff, at least I did back when I was like, before I got with Kimberly and I was on like dating sites. I keep chicks are putting their thing like, no man under this height. That guy is so unfair. Hi, Blue Baron. Well, I would suggest that they're not good at determining height. Well, I'm not a midget. I just have stains on my shirt. That's all. Man, I am stuffed.
Yeah, that was good, and that was a good amount. It's nice eating chili and burgers and not, when you're getting to the end of it, you've had enough. You're not fiending for more.
Yeah.
Like you order on some value menu.
Yeah, no value menu portions there. That's
Oh no.
2 full chili burgers, complete with cheese, onions, chili, burger, ketchup, mustard, and bread, along with a pickle and a couple of chips too. So,
I bet the folks at home don't have big plates. Everybody switched to small plates back about. It was the Gordon Ramsay food show days where he taught all the restaurant owners you should have small plates and you don't have to give away so much food.
it's the tapas revolution.
Sons of.
Let's have tapas. We'll charge them like 3/4 the price of an entree, but it'll just be like 3 pieces of bread.
Mm-hmm. But we'll call it tapas, so we
It's
can make a
Spanish.
South Park episode about it.
It's Spanish. That makes it fancy. Yeah, tasting menus, schmasting menus. That's what I had to say about tasting menus.
Yeah, it's a big no.
I will say this. When Rachel and I went out to that super fancy dinner, which had a preset menu with 5 courses, actually had an extra course that they added as well. It was way more expensive than any dinner should ever be. But I will say, it was like probably the best meal I've ever had. It was super, everything was super fancy and perfect and stuff. We went there for Rachel's birthday this past year.
That's in
It's in Oakhurst.
Oakhurst.
I guess fancy restaurants, like really fancy ones, you don't get to choose what you order. They just bring you what the chef is cooking.
Yeah, if it's that type, I think that's cool. I mean, because you're gonna be getting the best stuff. You're not just gonna get maybe a few people order this fish and a few order the chicken, and most order the steak. Like, you all get the same thing because they know they're getting a quality thing. And
Yeah. The only thing that's sad about that is it made me wish I had drank wine still, because you could also get it with the wine pairing. Alec T says people who are image types probably care more about balding than people who aren't. Who do you think are image types exactly? Hello, Jason Kerr. What are we doing for Thanksgiving? I haven't thought about it at all, Winston's mom. Not even for one small second have I thought about it. But I'll start thinking about it now. Yesterday, Cameron and I had Thanksgiving sandwiches.
oh, that was so good.
From Shortstop Sandwiches. Oh, so you mean 2, 3, 4? No, Halloween did not pass yet. Winston's mom is jumping the gun on Thanksgiving. She should be talking Halloween right now.
Yeah, we're one holiday too soon. I'm getting discombobulated.
And I was sure we were not gonna get candy this year because we had no kids last year. But guess what? I saw a flyer today. Cameron and I were taking a walk around the block, saying, "Hey, kids, meet at the corner of Snyder and Heights Cove, and for trick or treating on this time on October 31st." So now I'm thinking maybe we will get some kids. Males who are 2s, 3s, and 4s, probably 3s especially, I would guess. 4s are gonna be kind of like, I don't need your rules. I don't need you and your rules and you're judging me. I'm an artist. I could try to catch a turkey, but I wouldn't try to catch it with my bare hands. I've said before, like, if the universe presents to me, it's like a couple of days before Thanksgiving, and I happen to be in the garage looking at my rifle, have it in my hand, and then some turkeys walk by the outside the garage, aim right for its head. If I could pluck its head right off, then I'd be like, all right, fine. I was meant to eat this turkey. I was meant to kill and eat this turkey. But I don't think that's going to happen.
I can picture like a turkey trap but you still have to kill it, Still gonna have to shoot that thing.
Well, you make a good point, Alec T. But I think the idea that thinking it's ugly is still an idea of thinking that other people think it's ugly. Because,
I think that in the 70s, like when I was growing up on TV, there were bald people who were as good as other people. It didn't mean anything if you were bald.
What about
So,
Telly Savalas?
yeah.
He played in The King, and I know that was Yul Brynner. But Telly Savalas and Yul Brynner, famous bald guys. Analyze this. Analyze what? Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne is kind of fucked up from doing way too many drugs. I think that's what I think about Ozzy Osbourne.
The other thing about balding is that if you really don't, if you want to resist balding or not bald, you can get into things that will disfigure you. So, you know, there are medications you can take orally and topically, which they may require you to stay out of the sun and stuff. But there are people who do hair plugs and things. And if, let's say, you do some hair plugs over here and then you bald some more, all of a sudden you've got strips of, I mean, it's
Did you
very
see
sad.
Landon Donovan's head?
Who's that?
Landon Donovan is a famous soccer player for the U.S. and he was
Uh,
doing commentary, and he got these hair plugs like 2 weeks before, and they told him, "Oh, it'll be fine by the time you do it," but his head looked ridiculous.
it has to be done a certain way, and you would have to keep up with it, and forget all that. Forget that.
Hayton Hashbury, huh? Well, I think I'll pull a few bulls. You prompted me to do so.
Oh, you could get a fake, like, hair helmet thing, which would also be pretty embarrassing when it fails at the beach.
We've got stuff hanging to dry all over the place. It's right there and over there, and in the other room and in the closet. I can tell you one thing: it's very unappealing to be around someone who's insecure about that stuff. Well, yeah, if they are expressing that insecurity, sure. I mean, insecurity in general is not an attractive quality, but yeah, I'm not worried about being bald. I don't care that I'm bald at all. After all, I'm already married, so the only conceivable reason one might care about it, namely that conceivably it might impact your how appealing you are to chicks or something. Well, that has zero reasoning for me because I already am married, so why would I care about it at all?
I've had a receding hairline since I was way young, and you know, I think I'm attracted as decent chicks as I would have been otherwise.
Yeah, I think bottom line is if you've got sufficient riz to land your prospective lady, then you'll have that regardless of how much hair you have on top of your head. But you know, also you can fool people like Clubby NTP. He fooled me. I did not know he was wearing a wig. But then somebody directed me, maybe it was Winston's mom, to a image of him from Facebook, and he's he's like me, you know, he's bald. I believed. I thought, wow, that guy's got a full head of hair. Looked believable.
Was that like as a joke, or does he actually
No,
wear
no,
that sometimes?
he wears it all the time on his channel, so it's like he's trying to present himself as that's how he looks.
Wow. God damn. Okay.
I will. I'm not gonna roll a doobie though. I'm gonna pull bong rips instead.
Yeah.
But I like your thinking, Jason Boosh. The thing is, rolling a joint is a little bit more effort than just pulling bong rips. Everybody's bald. My penis is bald. My penis has a full head of hair. You know, it's like all the hair went from the top of this head to the top of this head. I've got lovely flowing penis head locks. I sometimes I braid them, French braid.
A real werewolf.
Yeah.
White grocery store things like that.
This is fire crotch. so named because fire goes into her crotch, as you can see. And she wants to share with you the wisdoms of the universe. Hello, my name's Firecrotch. How are you? That's not how you spell it. Anyway, I'm sure like the rest of the Bay Area, it's all fucked up. Although I haven't been there since I was a kid, you know. Preparation H. I don't have hemorrhoids. As a kid, I assumed probably people got hemorrhoids all the time because there's so many commercials for it. To the best of my knowledge, I do not have and never have had hemorrhoids. Go figure. What do you think causes hemorrhoids? No, her crotch is built for this, okay? She takes it like a champ.
You can get hemorrhoids by pushing and being constipated and stuff like that.
Oh yeah?
Yep.
Hero Lamp says everyone has hemorrhoids, just not inflamed ones.
Okay, that's probably better way to.
Maybe that's true. Is it okay? I grew my beard long enough that I could use it to come over my bald spot on my head. I like that. I like that choice.
Totally.
Um,
You need to get it thick enough that you can classify it as a helmet for when you ride your, electric assisted bicycle.
yeah. I grow hairs come out of the bridge of my nose here. I tweeze them with the tweezers. If I didn't, I think eventually I would have a nose beard. No, I can't shout out your son. Okay? I am tired of members of the Gurr family always needing shout outs.
Oh my god.
Harlan, what are you talking about? I know host Eric mentioned someone, maybe me doxed somebody. Who? I don't know who got doxed. Doxed, if anybody. What's the plan for Halloween? Well, I have the same plan I usually have, which is number one, avoid harm induced by witches, goblins, ghouls, skeletons, vampires, bats, other things like that, you know. And so far, so good. Despite having lived through 52 Halloweens already, I have not been murdered. I've not had my soul possessed or anything like that. So I'm going to try to keep on that streak. I also plan to go egg people's houses, regardless of whether they give me candy.
You have to start rotting the eggs back in, June or something? How long do you have to leave eggs around?
I don't know. I maybe even just go for fresh eggs. Just go by all the houses and say, trick! And throw an egg. Trick, motherfuckers! Trick! And then they'll all run out of the house. But give us a chance to treat you. No, you don't get a chance, motherfuckers. Trick, trick, trick. Eat some eggs, bitches.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
We have a compilation of all the home security cameras. With the pitching skills, all of a sudden you're elected to be the pitcher of the Mariposa baseball team because they see how good you throw the eggs.
Well, the cops come by on November 1st and I explain to them, hey, it was Halloween. And they go, fair enough, nothing we can do about it. Mm-hmm. I could TP them, sure. Could TP them and egg them. The average American consumer will not buy turkey eggs. Well, I've never even seen them for sale.
I've never thought of a turkey egg. Are they big? Are they like twice the size of a chicken egg?
Do they taste like chicken eggs? Again, calm down, gunpowder. Who's gunpowder?
Gunpowder. Yeah, TPing houses was pretty fun. It's not noisy enough that you're going to get busted that fast. You just have crazy adolescent fun, and you don't take all of your parents' toilet paper. You just take a couple from each kid's house. It works out.
I tell you whose houses get toilet papered. the popular kids. They
True.
toilet paper each other's houses. Regular kids like me, we don't ever get to be toilet papered. We're not popular enough amongst our peers.
Eric, do we need to TP the house here to make you feel better?
If we TP'd my own house, sure, it might impress the neighbors, but I would know that it was really just me TPing my own house.
Okay.
No, first last, you cannot turn a profit in TPing people's houses.
I bet you could do some good TPing with drones nowadays. You just have a little TP loop on the bottom of a drone, fly it over the top of the whole house.
You could program in its TPing route ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you're done, you could take a dump on the porch and use what to wipe your butt? The TP that you put all over the house. But what if you made it into a reality show? Liar. Well, then there would be profit in TPing people's houses. But it really wouldn't be in TPing. It would be in making a show about it. The actual artists, the TPers, would get just shitty nothing, and the producers would get all their money from it. That's how it works in Hollywood. In the Hollywood. I like the thing that churches do where they frolic a home for a price you can pay to have dozens of pink plastic flamingos placed on someone's lawn. Don't place them on my lawn, okay? I don't want you to frolic my house. I don't have a lawn, so.
Do you get to keep the pink flamingos if they do it to your house?
I mean, I would just go out front and throw them right into the trash can.
But if you have a BB gun or something, you just have so many targets, or your shotgun.
I just want to get the trash off my lawn as quickly as possible, I think. But, frolicking people's houses, it's like things that don't, little art projects that you do involving other people without their consent. I'm not a fan of those things.
Somebody left a painted rock on the parking block where I park at home.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm like, who on earth would leave this stupid painted rock here? It was a little rock. It said something like,
You are loved.
tails you lose, paper, I'm a rock, or something. It said something dumb referring to whoever's reading it as paper and it being the winner. And I'm like, I don't know anyone who's leaving this. I kicked it into like the dirt. Like, I'm not even touching it. To me, it had like disease on it.
Yeah, Hollywood's not a particularly safe area, not a particularly nice area. There's the tourist part of it with the Walk of Fame and the Chinese theater and the Hollywood Wax Museum and that kind of area. And then if you go above there high enough, you get into the hills. There tend to be nice places up there. But if you go south of there, south of Hollywood Boulevard, it gets pretty, gritty. You know a chick who lived near Hollywood and then the San Fernando Valley? Both were rough areas when I visited. Yeah, well, there's rough areas in the San Fernando Valley and there's nice areas too. Hollywood kind of similar. LA is weird in that you might have one street that's super nice and then just a street over it be not gentrified yet, Cameron was talking to me about this, about Highland Park yesterday or something.
I know some people from Highland Park. We both know them. And one of the guys lives on a street and says he can't wait till his whole street is gentrified. And that sounds bad and everything, but the guy who lives in the last house that, Eric, am I allowed to say cholos on the internet?
I believe it's acceptable, yes.
All right, cholos live in the house. They're in the last house that's not been, fixed up by the white man. our friend says he wishes they would move out, and I'm like, yo, you're just like the bad gentrifier. But it turns out that their son can't smoke weed at his own house, so he drives 2 doors up in front of my friend's house and smokes weed that goes into my friend's house. So that's the guy who wants to move out, so his street will be fully gentrified.
Well, you know, all the weed I smoke goes right into my house.
Yeah?
Most of it, anyway. I heard someone left their cake in MacArthur Park out in the rain. And what happened to it? Did it get wet? Did it get all soggy and gross? That's what I would guess would be the outcome of that.
I've been on scooter rides, like electric scooter rides through Hollywood, and sometimes the homeless people take over the whole sidewalk and they build walls and make it such that if you were walking by this tent structure on the sidewalk, you could pretty much be grabbed in there and accosted, or definitely breathe like crack smoke. So there are places you really have to cross the street if you are kind of like a safety-minded person.
I think I'd be okay with breathing in crack smoke. It was just some secondhand crack smoke, yeah.
Could you get a little crackdown on secondhand crack? Like if you're in the same tent as someone cracking it up?
I mean, they'd have to be cracking it up pretty good, I think.
Alright.
I don't really know, but all the sweet green icing flowing down. Someone left the cake out in the rain. I don't think that I can take it because it took so long to bake it, and I'll never have that recipe again.
Oh no.
That's a wonderful, wonderful poem, Mrs. Bong. Thank you for that. Hello, big dog. Welcome to Hollywood. No, we're not in Hollywood, but we were talking about Hollywood for a second.
What do you think about shooting BB guns at water bottles in the yard?
I mean, we could. I don't want to show it on this on camera, but we could do that because
We're not doing that.
because I know that they aren't firearms, but I just don't. They have this policy that if you live stream anything involving firearms, you will have your channel like deleted. Like they're totally serious. Like you will not be allowed, or actually think it's you will be never allowed to live stream again.
Well, let's not do it when you're live streaming.
Yeah.
Some other time.
I do want to walk around the house though outside because I just feel like getting outside for a second. Feel like
Yeah, let's do that. Let's
strolling around the house.
wander around. We could, we might even throw a rock or two. You never know.
We could even look at my unfinished wooden bong.
Oh, that's fun.
Let's go out through the garage. That way we can open the garage door. So here is the most wonderful concept in bongs, okay? You put your mouth on the hole right here, right? And you put this part into there, like this. And you make this hole big. And you put water at the bottom of it. And then you drill a hole through here. And you light your fire. Or through here, maybe. See, you get the general gist of the concept, right? It's a good idea, I think, for a bong. What do you think, Cameron?
I feel like we talked about it last time, and if I'm remembering my same idea, it would be to decide what position you want this in, which I think you said was this position.
Yeah, well, it looks like it, right? Looks like that's where I was moving towards.
And then I think you'd probably want to decide how deep you want this to go and choose, you want it to be 2 inches or whatever, and you want to clear the bark off and get this to be as uniform as possible. Doesn't have to be, a sphere would...
It's a taper
circle.
in, right? So that as you push down, it gets tighter down. you know?
It wouldn't hurt, yeah. That wouldn't hurt to do that. But at some point, you want to get this traced onto here, which it seems like you, or no, it's once you taper that,
Yeah,
you're not going to have any tracing.
we
left.
did trace
Yeah.
it,
Okay.
but
So this just needs to get buzzed a bit, I guess. This needs to go,
and this needs to get rounded a bit.
and that needs to.
Yeah, I wonder
Well, that's always fun.
what to do that on. Maybe the angle grinder, the end of the round part. I don't know.
Let's see. You don't have a belt sander of any type.
I should, but I guess I don't.
There was stuff maybe around here. You have a little chainsaw, which is
There's a
something.
jigsaw.
Jigsaw, which I don't think we're gonna use.
There's a
skill saw.
angle grinder. There's a drill with spade bits.
This was more full.
Like here. There's also chisels.
Do you have? Is this a? Oh, it's a polisher. This
Yeah, I don't have a thing for that. I do have an angle grinder though.
Yeah, I think the angle grinder is a good place to start.
Do you think this is the right thing to have on it?
They're all relatively unsafe and figure you and cause blindness.
That's good.
You know, but I don't have a guard on mine either. It's just a dangerous ass tool, and you gotta just try to not have it lined up so that if it blows up, it catches you in the eye.
You know, I might even go at this with a Dremel. I think.
Let me look at my car. I'm gonna have something that we can carve out the bottom piece with. I'll get my keys from inside.
Okay. And I still want to walk around the house.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
But I don't have my vape with me. Here's a rock. This is a rock. I'm going to try to hit something with this rock. Can you manage the camera? Turn it around that way and let's see. What am I going to try to hit? I'm going to try to hit that broken tree right there. That's got sticking up parts. Here, turn this around like this.
Oh, do it this legit way.
Yeah.
There we go.
And then I'll zoom in on what I'm going to hit. I'm going to hit
That thing.
that thing. Yeah, that's the thing.
Here, I'm gonna balance on this. Let me get back out again. It's
That broken tree right there.
yeah, great.
Oh,
It was in frame.
so close, but I missed. Let me get another rock. I'll get a couple of rocks and then so you can take some shots too.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, we're in frame.
This time I'm gonna put it right in the old bread basket.
Ooh, I saw it. It's pretty impressive.
This time for sure.
Closer.
That was pretty close. And pow!
Folks at home are saying, "Come on, Eric, hit the car."
I keep going left, right, left, right. Okay.
Dude,
This
yeah,
big one will get it for
I
sure.
can hear it got tree interference.
Oh,
Oh, that's right about there, almost.
that was so close. Oh. Okay, I'll get more rocks for you, then I'll hold it and you throw it.
All right. Go ahead, take a shot, folks at home. See if you can hit it. William is a real fan. William wants us to hit the cars with the rocks.
The what?
The cars.
No, we're not hitting any cars.
He has really interesting ideas.
We're not hitting any cars. What we're hitting instead
I don't know if I can resist.
is that tree right there.
All right, so it's the tree with the crack in the middle.
Right.
All right, that's what I'm going for. And I've learned a lot by watching all those picture videos today. I'm gonna get a really good
Very good pitching motion going.
body, body mechanics.
Sure.
Follow through. All right, go. That's up. All right, I can do better. Even better.
Where is it? Wait, hold on a second.
Sure.
I'm not on the thing yet.
Sure.
There it is. Okay.
All right, I'm selecting the biggest rock. These are the best.
There. Now we don't have to hold it.
Cool. Magic.
Yeah. Ooh, that was very close, Cameron.
Kind of in the right line.
Oh, so close again. Just to the left. Oh, just to the left again.
I gotta be able to get that. The bird doesn't like what I'm doing. All right, too much compensation.
Now I'm going to pull back here so you can see the whole scene in all of its glory.
The whole kit and caboodle. As they say. Right over it. Sometimes I do this trick. I make sure to hit it. All right.
Did you hit it?
No, I didn't hit it. You want some more rocks? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to try to hit it. I'm going to hit it for sure. Because I have the magic arm that all the baseball scouts were drooling over. They didn't know. The baseball scouts didn't, but they were. They didn't know and they didn't tell me, but they were drooling nevertheless. Okay, so let's see. I guess for camera purposes, instead of trying to hit that thing that we've been trying to hit, I'll try to hit the top of that tree right there.
The top
of the, I guess the fir tree right there.
The top of
The big fir
the
tree.
poofy Christmas tree?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, the top of the poofy Christmas tree. Sure.
So that's
And
in
that's in-
frame now. You'll be able to see.
Yeah,
me
sure.
And hitting the thing.
All right, we got it.
That's way too low. That's not the top of it. Almost. And go.
Do you want to go do a foot race and race that guy?
No. And
Oh, you're in the zone.
that was really close.
You're hitting the batter's feet right there.
And a little bit higher. I was high enough, but too much to the left. Just a little bit too much to the left that time. Before it was too much to the right, actually. That's too hard. That's a little bit too difficult for me. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to succeed in this endeavor. Like,
I'm going for the heavyweight rock.
okay, are you going to go back for the split tree one?
I'm going for the top of that.
You're going for the top too, okay.
I'm going for the Santa challenge.
All right.
I'm going to go smallest to largest rock.
Get this lined up here with where we're going. We're going to the top of this tree right here.
All right, here we go.
All right. So right there is where we're aiming.
All right, that's not
A
even.
little bit low. A little bit low.
The trunk, but not high enough.
A little bit low. Ooh, that's
Ooh,
probably the
climbing
closest one yet.
Climbing up.
Oh, a little bit to the left.
Not on it.
Oh, very close. Oh, that one was not so close.
That's like how I golf. Just like, you could do it far, but not straight. All right, well, you know.
You know what? We won in our hearts.
Yes.
We may not have won out there in the gully, but in here, we're winners. And that's what matters.
And if you throw your arm 12 times or so, you too will feel like a baseballer. You'll say, wow, how old am I that I can feel my shoulder like that?
I enjoyed throwing rocks yesterday in the woods.
Totally. Oh, yeah, I'm not disabled from this.
I enjoy throwing rocks now, too, but I realized yesterday, hey, you know what? I kind of like throwing rocks.
What's extra cool is skipping rocks. Although I know you're a fisherman, so you'd probably hate.
No, I'm fine with skipping rocks, but we don't have a lake to skip rocks around here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to hit the shed with this rock.
Ooh, all right. That I think is a.
There's the shed. Let's see if I can hit it. Bam!
That works.
I hit it the first time.
I have this technique that makes it so I can hit stuff better. But it
The
didn't work last
multi-rock,
time.
the multi-rock throw.
Multi-rock throw. I hit it
Good
twice.
job.
2 and 1.
So, you know, the problem was our previous target was too small. We get a bigger target, it gets to be a little bit easier to hit it.
Yeah, that's why rock is better than firearm. With firearm, you know, you're like from 25 yards and you have to hit a 6-inch thing. Here, we're from 15 yards and you have to hit a 12-foot thing.
True. Well, look at us now. We're back in the front of the house. Exciting times for everybody. Do you want to take a look at that laundry room door?
We could do that. Another thing is, have you looked up here lately? Have you looked to see if you have your own tarantula?
No, but I'm more convinced there might be one now because I saw one on the road the other day.
Do you have the right shoes to look?
No, I don't. But I am tall, so maybe I can look over the edge. Or I could just ask the people to look for me. Can you look for tarantulas, the people? Do you see any tarantulas up there? Take a good look.
I feel like it was right up along this. Do you think you could climb this wall if you had to?
Yeah.
Just like hop up there and.
Totes my goats. Totes my goats, I can get up there.
Yeah, it would take some real gnarly effort to do that. That's harder than running up the hill.
Getting on top of this wall?
Just from right here?
It can't be very difficult.
That's hard.
Okay, I stand corrected.
I think I'd have to run and kick off and do it. But, you know, I'm going to save my energy.
Yeah, you have to have good shoes so you can get some purchase on this and get some foot lift too. I should be able to do a pull-up though. I mean, come on, right?
It's hard though because you don't have a good grip. Like if there were a bar here and I could swing my leg up here, yeah, but it's a bad grip.
You make a good point.
It would be that much easier. Like here, it's just a little bit easier. And more spidery.
Do you think you could jump up on this wall, people at home? William, Winston's mom?
It's pretty high because I'm 6'2". With shoes, I'm probably 6'3". So this is like a 6'2", 6'3" wall. I think the place I could do it is more like this easy 5'7" right here.
Maybe if I had shoes on, maybe.
It's a bitch.
Okay.
There's got to be a way.
That's enough of that.
Yeah, I don't know if slamming into it's gonna help. I just think.
Maybe if I had shoes on, I could put my foot against it, pull, and create a point of contact there, you know, that would give me a little bit of push with my legs.
I think you have to parkour it where you pounce and you slam one leg into this while you're trying to grip with a high up grab. So
You know what? I got a good idea.
you gonna use tools? All right, Eric's gonna use tools. Win. Oh my God, that's hard.
See, what we need is this. This will be easier. See, I did it.
You did it. Do you want the camera to look for the spiders?
Here, I'll take the camera. So obviously everyone's really impressed by my athleticism. With just the assistance of one small chair, I was able to do the impossible.
The chair Olympics. So I think this is about a foot higher than last time I saw it. It just feels like it's grown more.
These plants here. Cameron was able to do it too.
With the magic of
The magic of chair.
I feel like right in here was the tarantula zone.
I think it was more over this way, but you might be right. Maybe you're right. You probably remember better than I do.
I feel like there were horizontal webs to be observed. But not as, I don't think I got this far.
I'm thinking this might be one of only a few live stream tarantula hunts currently ongoing here on here on the YouTube. Cameron is an ISTJ.
There is right here, right by my foot. Here's something for you to look at.
So if you're looking for a tarantula hunt live streamed on YouTube, we hope that you'll choose this tarantula hunt over your other options.
So there are some horizontal webs here, here, and then right over here there's one with a little bit more hazy. It's as though maybe there's somebody under there.
You know,
It's a little hazier
horizontal webs, well, that could be a lot of things.
white.
We need to see a live tarantula as big as your head.
Another one here, horizontal web.
Okay, well, let's look in there.
Right there.
Let's look at that horizontal web.
There's one I'm straddling here.
We'll see if
Right here.
there are any tarantulas up here. Okay, so I'm going to dip you guys under there so you can look for me and find out if there are any tarantulas.
Oh, and over here, all throughout here.
All throughout here, yeah.
There are little horizontal webs.
Do you see any tarantulas? How about now? How about now? What's that? Is that a tarantula? I don't know.
They may have evaded us today.
It'd be cool if there was a big tarantula on the back of Cameron's head right now.
Yes. We need to go to the magic store and get some fake tarantula.
Unfortunately, the tarantulas are not making themselves that available to us today. This is a little bit dangerous walking on this wall, so everybody should try to be careful. See? It's not that big of a wall. But I have the dexterity of an acrobat. Thus, I can walk on this wall. I'm not going to jump down. That might hurt my feet. Instead, I will float down like a feather. Like, what's in this hole? Something's in this hole. That might be a tarantula hole. Come look at this hole, Cameron.
Is that one of
I don't know. It's some kind of hole from something.
Ooh, somebody's, yeah, been doing their little animal job in there.
There might be a tarantula hole.
Hmm.
Could be a snake hole.
What's outside of it?
Look at all this stuff, right? It's been kicked out. Like
Yeah.
choo over there.
Look at this curvature of this root sort of thing.
Well, there's this rock here.
That's a rock?
And then the hole goes further down behind underneath the rock.
Yeah.
If you look at it from over in here, you can see it goes down quite a ways.
And you don't see any evidence of some late, dirt, filthy thing coming in and out and scruffing it up. There is like a little ant sort of thing in there. A little black ant-sized guy. Huh.
Well, what we have to do is get some hole scientists out here. Tell us what kind of hole it is. Hole scientists obviously study different kinds of holes, what they're used for, who uses them for, whatever they're used for, why they're used for that.
Holeologists.
Yeah. The science of holes is a burgeoning field. Here what we see is some white poop. Why? I guess because birds sit in this tree and poop on these bushes here. All right. Any tarantulas? Take another gander out here. See if you guys see any tarantulas. You're our only hope, Obi-Wan. Because I can't see down there by myself. But you can.
It's a pretty nice view, though.
Thanks to the magic of camera. Nice view across the street.
That there.
You mean the hill?
Yep.
And the blue sky and the clouds and stuff?
Indeed.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
The clouds are cruising by so fast, too.
Yeah. We got some decent bit of rain yesterday. Didn't rain for a very long time, I don't think, but it rained pretty hard. Oh no. I've reached the end. There's no good way to get down. Well, I'm going to have to just get on down the old-fashioned way. First, I'm going to put this down on the ground. And I'll turn the camera towards me. Okay. So you're going to get to see all of the action. Every last bit of it. Okay. Now watch this, everybody. Ah! I did it. It's why
That sort of stuff now and then. Otherwise, you'll lose it.
that's why they have me teaching all the parkour classes. Okay, I see some empty bottles of water to be thrown away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the last bits of water in the bottle to wash my dusty hands off. My hands got dusty because I was up on the dusty wall.
So this has a switch that says winch on it?
Yeah. The thing inside makes the winch go.
And this has like a manual locking hub thing, where this red thing, you probably turn it and get to loosen the winch thing.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how it works.
This red thing looks a lot like a lever where you engage and disengage. And I think the way a winch works is, right now it's locked, such that if you were to winch it in, it would just lock out. But if you turn this, it'll go to like neutral, and you can pull it out, and you lock it in again.
Oh, I see. So you manually pull it out, and then you winch it in. So it only winches one. It only winches one direction. That makes perfect sense, actually.
Well, let's see.
It wouldn't.
It's
It-
possible it winches the other way too.
I mean, even if it did go the other way, you wouldn't be able to winch anything that direction because it's not like a stiff pole that would push something.
It would be like controlled electric.
It would just be a way to unroll it easier, right?
I don't know that much about winching, but I know I know the part about you pull it out, you hook it up, and then lock it again, and then reel it in. That part I know. The rest I don't know.
C.S. Joseph teaches a great parkour class. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does.
What do you want to do? We're doing the wood project?
I say let's look at the door first. That's more
totally.
practical. And then maybe we'll look at the wood. So yesterday, Cameron and I began helping me with this. It's called a striker plate, I learned. That's what this thing is called. Well, this one didn't fit properly on there. So, but unfortunately, to make it fit, I would have needed to drill holes that were too close to the existing holes. So I decided to wait for Cameron to come and advise me on the matter. And he filled up the holes with some glue and stuff. I've started a snowball of a revolution from the U.S., so it should be good to go in about 4 years. Sounds good. Somatic anxiety and allergies go together like battery acid and toothpaste. I'm assuming that's poorly? I'm not sure how battery acid and toothpaste go together. I mean, what if you're trying to, what if you're engaged in some kind of espionage and you're trying to negatively impact the enemy's smile? Then perhaps battery acid and toothpaste would be a great combination.
The Chuli's gum campaign. I'm just trying to flatten it out by chiseling any little heads.
Food vibes sent to you and yours from me and my wife. Well, thanks, Mike Honcho. Cameron and I just had chili cheeseburgers, but my wife is still asleep. She went to sleep very late. So, she hasn't had any lunch yet. When she gets up, she'll have to make her own food because I'm stuffed, so I don't want to cook. But she doesn't mind making her own food. She never really asked me to cook. I just, sometimes I'll ask her to make me a cup of noodles. She never really asked me to cook. Battery acid and toothpaste are categorically similar in essence. They're substances that purify. I don't think the acid in batteries is there to purify anything. I think it's there to conduct the electrical current or something, or hold onto it or something. I'm not really sure. Maybe it is there to purify. Maybe it's there to make the battery kosher. Or
it's required by the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
So now I've put Sharpie on the lug again. I'm gonna.
Okay, yeah, you do that. Sounds good. I need to go get my vape.
All right.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get the vape.
Sure.
All right, let's go get my vape, everybody. It'll be exciting for you. It'll be fun for me. We'll learn things. We'll have some time to spend together that will make some important memories that we can take with us for all of our days. I'm going to get my glasses too. It's going to be a double whammy. Glasses, triple whammy. Glasses plus 2 vapes. And you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. Let's make it a quadruple whammy and get a drink as well. Quadruple whammy. There's battery acid in vapes. Well, it's probably battery acid in a vape's battery. But you probably don't vape the battery acid, I'm guessing. Unless you get that flavor. Do you have battery acid? You have battery acid and salmon as a flavor for my vape? the hot new flavor that's taking the kids by storm. Salmon and battery acid. I have 2 flavors of bait myself, and both of them are kind of poorly named. One of them is called clear or unflavored, but it definitely has a flavor. It's minty a little bit. It's not super minty, but it's definitely minty. The other one is called tobacco flavor. But while it smells like tobacco, kind of, it doesn't really taste like tobacco. It kind of tastes like pipe tobacco a little bit, I guess.
Do you want to see the magic?
Yeah, let's see it. Hold on.
Time for the actual magic. This is the part that people don't know how to do.
Let me get back to my job as director of this important film.
So, as folks at home know, I already filled these holes with slivers of wood and wood glue. There were like 2 holes here and 2 half holes here.
And that's if you missed yesterday. We did that yesterday, so it's had time to dry, okay, just to be clear.
So now, this is the striker plate for the deadbolt. And what I've done, I put blue tape here, and then I put some black Sharpie onto the deadbolt, and then I transferred the color onto this blue tape so I can center the striker plate. I'm gonna have to chisel out down here, which is fine, I'll do that later. I just want to get my holes straight now. So centering it over this, which you barely can see, but I'm not gonna make it fancy for the folks at home.
Do you want me to get out the Dremel to grind down the part you need to chisel out instead of chiseling it? Do you think that'd be easier or no?
Not at all. Not at all. Chisel is exactly what I want.
All right,
so
cool.
Right here, I just give it a little slam with my hammer, mark the hole. The hole kind of walked itself to where it wanted to be, but you know, it is what it is, and this is where I want this hole to be.
All right.
The next thing, if I'm smart, I'll drill a little pilot hole.
Pilot holes are always a good idea.
It's not much. Yeah, this is a real small one.
You know, you always tell yourself, oh, it's fine. This is a small screw and it's got a sharp pointiness to it. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then you split the wood and you regret it. Yeah, unflavored bait. It's called clear. But it's not actually unflavored.
I can already feel this all fell out, so hopefully it even works on this step.
Well, it is. I do feel like my lungs are less cashed than when I smoke cigarettes. It's a shitty substitute for smoking, you know? That's all. Hi, Sweden. Welcome to California, America. My name's Eric. This is my friend Cameron.
Hello.
He's helping me fix this deadbolt on this door. It doesn't fit into the hole properly. So
that's probably my new hole.
So I think Cameron's going to try to chisel away some of that wood from the bottom of this. I think he's put it in exactly the same place it was before, actually.
Well, it's a little bit lower, and we'll see what happens on this step.
Maybe your pilot hole didn't go deep enough.
It's deep. We're just it's all happening. So let's just see if the door closes. I'm not gonna leave it that way. Let's just see what happens.
All right, let's see. Let's find out.
Yeah, that's perfect.
It goes in the hole?
So, yeah. So
good enough
all
for
I
me.
need to do is just do a little chisel right around this rim, and then it'll seat in there where it ought to be, and then everyone's happy.
Oh, I see. You're doing it with that on there.
Yeah.
I assumed you were going to do that with that off of there.
Well, I might finish it with it off of there, but to mark it, you know, it's a pretty good thing to mark it with. Now this, I want to get you. That's all.
Yes, there is a lot of hole talk today. That's because today we are exploring the whole sciences, which discuss the nature, physics, uses, availability, and desirability of various holes.
The classification of holes, you know, we've got from 1, 2, and 3. We've got A holes, we've got B holes.
Yeah, it's the whole hole field, Muck. The whole field.
So that's going to make it my line now walk around. My line was walking around before, so I wasn't really being precision a second ago.
But now things have changed.
Yep.
So for those of you who are later writing, I'd be saying, I thought you were making lunch, Eric. Well, we already did that. We already made the lunch and we ate it. So you just got here too late. And whose fault is that? It's not my fault. S-holes. Don't be an S-hole. What does that stand for? You know, a stuff hole.
So we just have like a little bit of wood there that we don't need, and I'm just gonna chisel it away.
Just chisel it right away.
Just let it get itself out of here.
And when my hole is filled with stank, then you will study it in lab. You are a scientist of holes, and that is why you're mealing me.
This is literally the pro difference right here. This is what people can't do. This is why I do this like as a pro.
Someone wants me to ask you, how many holes are there in the human body?
Unlimited, because you know, any cross section of something sort of like a hole, but I don't know.
I'm gonna say 7. I don't think your eyes count as holes, but your ears do, your nose holes do, your mouth do. That's 5. Your pee hole, your butthole, that's 7.
Your eye ducts aren't holes?
I don't think your eyes count as holes. I don't think pores count as holes either. They're pores.
Alright, then you could go with the traditional one and be pretty correct.
No, pores aren't holes, Muck. Oh, God. If you have to count each of your pores as a hole, then you've got too many holes to count.
You don't want to go too far. Just a little bit of is just what you want. And let's test it. Let's see.
It only counts as a hole if a tiny 1-foot tall man could fuck it.
What was the first part of it?
It only counts as a hole on your body if a tiny 1-foot tall man could fuck it.
But what about the eyeball?
You can't, no, because without injuring me. Without injuring me,
without
okay?
Injury. All right. Well.
Now, I don't know if they could fuck my pee hole, though. Even if he was only 1 foot tall.
Doctors do those catheters, so somebody fucks the people.
Maybe. If I'd have to, that'd be like not the desirable hole for him to hump, for sure.
Definitely not. So this is solved.
I'm amazed, Cameron. You fixed that shit.
Solved.
Lickety split like nobody's business. I had my doubts. I thought, are we going about this the right way? Because I was thinking, you know, Dremel out a little scoop first or something.
I'm a literal professional.
But you know what you're doing, Cameron.
Literally a professional.
That's why they call you Cameron the Door Fixer.
Yep.
And now we're protected from robbers with not just the bottom lock, but also the top lock. How wonderful. All right.
All right. If you need to, anything else broken? You want to take a walk through and look at? Oh, what we need to do is take the Sharpie off of here before everyone develops a Sharpie injury.
I don't want a Sharpie injury. That's when all of a sudden you have black ink all over you.
You come home from high school and some girl's written all over your arm. She writes like, Depeche Mode is the best.
Muck,
Let's hang out at 7-Eleven.
Muck, I'm gonna have to say that sounds more like an ESTJ neighbor. Okay. An ISTJ neighbor will help you with at your request. The ESTJ neighbor is the one who's gonna come over and fix it without your permission.
Oh, nice.
That's
So
the
I saw your
ESTJ.
garden hose was leaking. Here's a bill for $700. I fixed it for you. I
No.
had to buy these parts.
The thing was, since from when we bought the house that long, the deadbolt didn't go in here because it fit in the hole.
Yeah.
But they had put this plate, which is called a strike plate.
Yeah.
They had installed it badly, so it didn't match up with this hole, so the deadbolt wouldn't go in there. And I was like, I tried to move it myself. I tried to fix it myself, but I ran into a problem, which is number one, I couldn't adjust it without it being too close to the old holes. So as a consequence, I said, since Cameron's coming soon, I'm going to wait and ask him about it, what he thinks. And he fixed it. He knows what he's doing. I don't believe in subtypes much, but, I don't care. I don't want to argue about typology.
All right. We still haven't even walked around the house.
I know. Let's continue walking around the house. Well, we did walk around it once, but we could walk around more.
So we threw rocks. We fixed the thing.
Yeah. But if we really looked at the goalie, let's take a good look. Well, take a look at me now. We're coming on into fall. Pretty soon we're going to have different colored leaves on the maple tree and the oak tree.
Somebody shooting a shotgun in the distance?
Maybe. I didn't hear it, but maybe.
Off that way somewhere, rather quiet.
Off in the wilderness someplace. It's a lovely, lovely day. I love these clouds. Get a mix of overcast and sunshine. It's wonderful. All right, let's go look around. I know, it looks very realistic, right? The things we can do with green screens these days is absolutely amazing. Hi, Carl Dutton. Nice to see you. We have made so much progress, Cameron. Thank you so much for all your help.
Yeah, no problem. It's always fun to screw around with plants.
It does kind of sound like someone's shooting, but that could be a hammer or something.
Some sort of construction, demolition, smashing thing.
Yep. So after I'm done with that plant, next couple of days or whenever I get to it, I'll chop out all of these stems. I'll try to dig this area up a bit in like a trench and put compost here. Start composting now.
Just do another run.
Well, I'd rather throw away like green waste and stuff into a compost trench than just have it go in a trash can.
Sure. Yeah.
So I figure my mom always composted, so I guess I picked up the idea, or it's a good thing to do from her.
It can be slightly stinky, but
Not if you do it right. You just got to get the right mix of different stuff, like brown stuff, food stuff, dirt. It's good to get some starter dirt. Like I'll dig a trench and I'll fill the bottom of it with like steer manure.
Okay.
Or steer manure blend, and then put this stuff on top and just turn it around. The other thing is, it's a good idea to chop up your kitchen green stuff before you put it in the compost. Chop it up as small as you can. My mom always used to put it in the Cuisinart. I'm probably not going to do that.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? Yeah, if she's really feeding her compost, then that would make it work way faster. Because otherwise, it's got to do its own work to break it all down.
Yeah. So you can also order worms.
Oh yeah, totally.
Via the internet. I bought worms via the internet before, and if you put them in a good environment for worms, you'll get shit tons of worms. And for those of you who don't know, worms help make your dirt into better dirt. That's just what they do.
They eat the dirt and they poop out better dirt.
Yeah.
They don't eat dirt. They eat the stuff that's not yet proper soil. They eat garbage and all the components of
Little bits of leaves and stuff.
yeah. Animal waste, plant waste.
Eric, why do some FE polar people come off much more smoothly than others? Cameron reminds me of Lawrence the INTJ a little with how much it doesn't show. Well, you know what? Cameron, I agree, has got excellent FE for FE polar, but I don't think Cameron agrees. Cameron doesn't believe himself to be socially graceful. I've heard him comment on that before, like that he finds it difficult to engage in a lot of like party or group kind of social situations, right? You want to comment on that?
Yeah, that's true.
I
Sure.
hope you didn't find that to be me, like revealing something private or something.
It's fine.
Anyway, I agree that Cameron is, very socially graceful, but he's still not using that as a mechanism to accomplish things. And I think he's very suspicious of schmoozing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people who are trying to do something that requires skills, but all they do is schmooze and don't do the actual skill they promised. It's kind of lame.
Like me and you fixing the door.
But you weren't hired.
You fixed the door, and I schmoozed with the people over here.
It all worked out. There would have been no door to fix without your existence.
That's true, I suppose. All right, well, we've really walked around the house now. I think we should go back inside the house and pull some bong rips.
I think that's probably the point.
Then maybe we can evaluate the Lord of the Dance, as I've decided to name my bong over here.
Oh yeah, that's definitely some labor time.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like this thing.
Yeah, something like that for the inside. Definitely.
This turns around like, phew.
I have some things in my car. I can't think everything I have in my car, but I probably have some grinding thing like that.
I also have some little wood chisels.
Yeah, those are useful. Oh, you know what you could do if you wanted to, instead of make it round, you actually square off. Just come up with a certain size square. You're like, I'm going from this size square to this size square, and just I don't know. Think about it.
I think it'd be easier to get like a hole drill thing. You know those
Hole saw.
holes? Yeah.
Yeah, I should have brought my hole saw kit next time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's getting close enough that I could actually just kind of work it down with a Dremel, which can move quite a bit of wood, If you put the big sandpaper wheel on it.
Yeah, power tools make bigger.
Well, living room's feeling and looking awfully lived in at the moment because we've been doing a lot of agricultural work. One time I heard an IXTJ describe themselves as wildly antisocial. That would probably be more INTJ thing to say. W window. Iced tea with bong rips with table rips. W. All right. So let's see. It's funny how people say that when the correct term is asocial, given what antisocial actually means. Yeah. Oh, thank you. These are called plantation shutters. I like them a lot too. they're kind of necessary down here because otherwise we get like glare off of the TV.
Way better than like stringy cheap blinds though, you know. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
a quality thing that really, it's not just falling apart every second you touch it.
Can we all agree the Venetian blinds suck ass?
I agree with that.
I think W in the chat means win. Like GG in the chat probably means good game. All right, so bong rip time. I've got some Northern Lights here I could smoke, but I've also got some of this, whatever it is. I think this might be Northern Lights, but I'm not sure. That's Ohio. Ohio is where I pay my phantom tax. And I'm afforded the certificate of Sigma Gigachad with all the most Riz. May all my Christmases be dank.
Christmas.
I am the leader of Gen Alpha, true. And ain't no skibbity bombaclat's gonna tell me otherwise. Oh, that's a meaty meatball. What's the lore behind the Tarantula girl? What does that even mean? Well, I don't think there is any lore behind it. There's like, what's the story of how she became famous? Some TikToker asked a question, I guess sex question, like, what's your go-to move to drive a man wild or something? And she said, Haktua. And accordingly, it just, I don't know. It caught fire on the TikToks. What's ironic or strange is she then like blew up and showed up all over the place, like throwing the first pitch of baseball games. This is a girl who on a TikTok responded to a question by saying, "Oh, my go-to move is to spit on the guy's dick," right? You wouldn't think Major League Baseball team would be like, "Get that girl to throw the first pitch," but they did. No, it's not the best way to get over a breakup. But the question is like, what do you do if you really want to like get a man's attention in bed or something like that, or some kind of question like that? You know, it's not really idiocracy. What I find is that people are probably smarter than they were before, but we have more ability to view how dumb people are. So while it used to be that people were probably even way dumber than they are now, we had much less capacity to evaluate the dumbness of a bunch of random people. Now we can evaluate the smartness of a bunch of random people and discover that indeed vast swaths of them are very dumb. But I don't think that's indicative of a dumbing down of society, because after all, information fluidity is way up. And it seems like information fluidity, while it may serve some kind of misinformational interests in its echo chambery mechanics, it's not, it nevertheless is unavoidable that when you bump into more different expressions of perspectives and you start bumping into variations of the same thing multiple times and stuff, it's unavoidable that you get some kind of increased grasp of the ideational landscape. I mean, it's not dumb here. We're not having a dumb conversation here. We're on the internet. We're using social media. We're on YouTube. Something that frequently is spoken of derisively as though it's not a place where you can trust any information or something like that. But YouTube is not TikTok. YouTube has quite a robust policy against misinformation. I may not always agree with how that plays out. For example, they're going to put up some link underneath my video linking to COVID resources if I talk about COVID, or they're linking to climate change if I talk about climate change, some internet resources about it. YouTube needs to understand something. I'm as correct as it gets, okay? So if I'm saying something about any of those things, what I'm saying is the most correct thing to say about it. To the extent that anybody else disagrees with me, they are less correct. So why would you link to anything? You should link from the Wikipedia page to me so that people who can Wikipedia can fact check Wikipedia with somebody who actually knows what the fuck's going on. But whatever, that's fine. I don't expect others to understand that I'm more correct, because then they'd be very correct to have to understand, to be able to understand that. They'd be very, very correct. And people generally aren't that correct. Muck, though, maybe you've got a shot. Maybe you got a shot at reaching the upper echelons of correctness. After all, you did say at 329, you're correct. Correctness is a scale. Correctness is a way of living. It's a process of always prioritizing the better argument over your argument when they conflict. So in other words, always getting rid of whatever your current argument is and replacing it with a better argument every time you encounter a better argument. That's the process of being correct. And consuming as much fentanyl as possible. For sure. And you need to consume it multiple ways too. You need to smoke it, you need to shoot it, you need to take it as a pill, all at once. Obviously, do not follow that advice to anybody, okay? Just to cover my ass here. Obviously, I'm joking. Do not take fentanyl.
But I'm doing surgery right now, Eric.
All right, well, if you're undergoing surgery, then fine. Take the fentanyl you've been prescribed. But I would just say, don't do Fenty or you get Benty. Truly, people who do that stuff too much, they bend over. They're like folded in half as they walk down the street. I saw a thing on the news about it.
Is that from the fentanyl or some other shit?
From fentanyl. It's like they can't, it's so that they don't fall over. You've clipped me already. Good job, Muck. Good job. Everybody should be clipping me constantly, saying, listen to this guy. Listen to these amazing words of truth that he speaks. Why aren't you as amazed by his truthfulness and correctness as I am? Friends and neighbors, let me share this on the Instagrams and the Facebook and the other things. The X, the Twitters, the Yahoo questions, the Quoras, the, what do they call that? Reddit? I'm going to start sending clips of Eric to C.S. Joseph when I'm high. That feels like a good idea. Or when you're not high, too. Oh my God, C.S. Joseph, what are you up to? It's me, Eric. You may remember me from such communities as the YouTube Typology community. And I just want to say, this lady contacted me the other day by email. And she was complaining about you so much and saying you're starting a cult. I even talked to her on the phone. But you know what? I didn't hear anything particularly notable, credible, dramatically bad enough to even bother really mentioning it. Because obviously, I'm not going to just repeat the claims of some woman who obviously is very angry at you. I'm glad you threw out that disclaimer. Me and my whole family are about to tweak out once you said that. Well, you wouldn't have been tweaking out, though. You would have been melting into the floor, I think, from what I understand. I've never done the Fenty, nor do I want to. I know somebody who has done the Fenty, and, you know, like, had to be brought back to life by the paramedics. Mark, C.S. Joseph doesn't want anything to do with arguing with me. Nobody does. C.S. Joseph is obviously, he's going to avoid having any engagement with me whatsoever because he's not going to fool me. He knows he's not going to fool me. I will win the argument because I know what I'm talking about and he's just pulling shit out of his ass. But yeah, shout out to Narcan. So I'm glad that they brought him back to life. I was stunned when he told me this. It's like, wait a second, you're doing fentanyl? The guy I'm talking about?
If you actually have to do surgery, but you're already doing fentanyl for fun, like how do they
Oh,
stop your pain?
then you're really in trouble, right? They just gotta up the dosage a lot. You have a higher tolerance. What do I think his type is? I'm not sure. He's probably a TE Dom, either ENTJ, ESTJ. But yeah, I'm always down to have these conversations with anybody in the typology community, but nobody wants to have these conversations with me for the obvious reason that I'm not playing the way that they want to play. They want to play, hey, let's share, let's collaborate over our shared interest in typology or something like that. But that's not my perspective on it at all. My perspective is, here's the correct explanation. And to the extent that you're deviating from that, you are both incorrect and spreading misinformation and muddying the waters and causing problems. So if you want to have a conversation with me about it, I'm going to correct your ass unless you have the same understanding that I've articulated. Because it's exclusively correct. It's not, well, they're right about some things and you're right or nobody's right. No, it's not like that. It's like, I'm saying 2 + 2 = 4, and they're saying 2 plus circle. Things that just make no sense. Right? They're not even explanations at all. Oh, Dave and Shan are the worst. They do nothing but pull shit from their ass. They've got no concept of what they're trying to do, so how could they possibly know how to do it or whether they're doing it correctly or whether they're doing it well or whether they're doing it at all for that matter? They couldn't. They couldn't possibly know those things. I wish I dressed all professional like a TE Don was tidy like that. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure if I got all like professory looking and stuff and had adequate number of teeth and, didn't have chili stains on my shirt, maybe people would take me a little more seriously. But maybe not. Who knows? I'd still be a little bit abrasive in my insistence that meow is correct and meow is incorrect. People don't really like that. They don't necessarily object to it if it's something that there's broad consensus about and they can verify what you're saying easily enough. Like, I never get any pushback really on my debate explanations. Plenty of times I'll say things like, well, what's happening here is this person is making the following claim, but the response here is not responding to that claim. It's responding to the claim this guy wished he had made that has this similarity, but the warrant's different. And here are the implications and impacting the exchange, Nobody ever pushes back on that because they understand that I'm a professional debate coach. I know what I'm talking about. If they were to Google it, they'd find out that, yes, that is in fact what it's called. That is what a critic, K-R-I-T-I-K, or critique is called. They spell it K-R-I-T-I-K. That's what it's called in debate, and that's what it is, and this is what a perm is, and this is what a counterplan is, and all that kind of stuff. You could Google it and find out that I'm correct, no problem. So I don't get any pushback on those kind of explanations. If I say, no, you cannot perm that counterplan because it's exclusive of the scope of the resolution. It's exclusive of, or it's exclusive of the AF plan. Um, People are gonna say, well, it doesn't. No, it could be either way. It's anything you want it to be. It's either exclusive or not exclusive. You can't say for sure. Nobody's gonna say that to me. You can test it. Is it exclusive? Is it not? It is exclusive. Okay, you can't perm it. So these are like things I'm not going to get pushback on other people from because it's a commonly practiced, played sport, competition flow debate, and it's got a set of terminologies that mean specific things mechanically when it comes to the engagement of certain sets of words with other sets of words. You think that's why? Because they find polling more preferable? Well, I do get plenty of pushback regarding typology because most people expect and want typology to be a sandbox where they can play ideationally. That, oh, I don't really have to understand how anything works, and I can still talk meaningfully about this because it's all up to anyone's interpretation anyway. Well, it's not at all. It's actually far too powerful an intellectual tool to just be treated like horoscopes or something. But it's only a powerful intellectual tool when you articulate correctly, what things mean, what they don't mean, what it means that they mean that, etc. Yeah, MBTI is astrology. You're going to hear that plenty. My typing classes, I don't have any typing classes. It's about a personality type, Although I get what you're saying, such as the life of ENTP Eric. The thing is, it's not necessarily. There's only one area in that I can think of intellectually where this happens, and it's typology, personality type. Personality type is something that's totally legitimate because it represents the correct articulation of modeled consciousness, namely the correct units, time, expressing the correct form of being, attention, and distinguishing observationally correctly the possible kinds of attention and the interplay of having one dominant absolute value, one dominant instrumental value, and how that impacts slot wise, etc. The whole mechanics, right? It works great, but not if people want to play everything's equally correct. What are your thoughts about tarot card readers? I think tarot card readers are fine. I like tarot. Tarot is a great way to, um, I guess, reflect upon your own life narratives via these universal archetypes to help collapse them into narratives that are more easily metabolized for your own purposes, What is the nature of time? Is time linear as we experience it, or does it have a more complex nonlinear structure? Some theories in physics suggest time may not be as straightforward as it appears. Well, it's actually quite straightforward. It's that human beings exist with two relationships to time. One of them is real time. So if I'm experiencing a stomach ache, I'm experiencing it in real time. I'm experiencing the pain, it getting worse, subsiding, getting worse, subsiding. Maybe finally I poop and go, ah. That's all experienced in real time. The duration of it is extremely relevant to the meaning of it. If I have a stomach ache that lasts 5 minutes, it doesn't mean much. If I have a stomach ache that lasts for a month and a half, then I have probably something wrong with me, right? In contrast, we also have the other kind of time, turn-based time, and that's communicative time. So even though this sentence is being said at a specific pace, and it takes a certain amount of time to say it, if you were to read the sentence, it doesn't matter if it takes you 5 minutes to read it or 1 second to read it, it means exactly the same thing. The words don't change, the meaning doesn't change, the information conveyed doesn't change because it's turn-based. After I'm done saying all of my things, if you want to respond to it, then you'll say your thing, then I'll respond to that. And that kind of turn-based time is the communicative experience of life, the communicative half of life, the metaphysical half of life. And then we have the physical half of life, which deals with things in real time. That is to say, we experience our life as having relevance to time in half of the ways that we pay attention, and having not relevance to time in the other half of ways that we pay attention. If I'm trying to argue, if I want to debate something, what that says is, listen, we're going to push pause on reality so that we can spend all the time we want deliberating, parsing out, explicating all the ideational possibilities regarding this thing to make sure we make the right decision before we make a decision. We're operating under a turn-based paradigm, right? That says that's how the world works. It will wait for us to make a decision. If we instead are reactive in real time, responsive in real time, and take action without a lot of deliberation, that can be better or can be worse depending on the circumstances. Regardless, that's behaving as though we're experiencing a real-time reality, not a turn-based time. If I'm playing football, it matters a lot once the ball is snapped, how quickly I move from spot A to spot B. But between plays, when the ball is dead, it doesn't matter how quickly I move. I can walk slowly or not. So you see in something like football, a combination of real-time and turn-based ways of being to make a game that has dynamic elements that are determined by static elements. So you have static plays called, you've got a ticking clock on that so you can't deliberate forever, etc. So it's when we ask what is time, time is there are two ways in which time is implicit to our possible means of paying attention. One of them assumes a communicative universe in which people take turns. The other assumes a dynamic universe in which where if you hesitate, you're lost. When we try to understand time from a physics perspective, we're saying, let's pretend all of reality doesn't supervene upon human observation and experience. Let's pretend it doesn't. But it does. So whatever your physics definition of time is always going to lose to the philosophy understanding that I've just articulated. That's interesting. I subscribe to the B theory of time, which states that the past, present, and future are all equally real. Well, I mean, real is not a good word for that, right? Because, it's not the case that my memory of a stomach ache is as real as my experience of one right now is as real as my anticipation of one in the future. So I can imagine a future one. It has reality on a metaphysical level. It's been rendered into a concept, right? But it's not the experience itself. So a memory of an experience is different than the experience. Do they have differing levels of reality, or they're real on different fields? So there are 4 possible fields that people pay attention on: internal metaphysical, internal physical, external metaphysical, external physical. Which is to say, this is external metaphysical. I'm talking, putting words out, right? If I'm digging a hole, external metaphysical, external physical. If I'm feeling a stomach ache, internal physical. If I'm remembering something from the past, internal metaphysical. If I'm thinking about something but not saying it out loud, internal metaphysical. So we have those four fields upon which attention is paid. And your relationship with time relates to what forms of attention you prioritize and where you're putting information from, where you're getting information from, what kind of systems you're preferring to interface with, whether they're static or dynamic, etc. A lot of these factors come into play. But the point is, we should never make the mistake of trying to understand time as something other than a feature of attention. I don't know if I asked this question before, but why don't you consider ISTPs and ISFPs as double knowers, but you consider INFPs and INTPs as such? I do consider ISTPs and ISFPs double knowers. But I don't tend to refer to them as that because they're much less communicative in their overarching being than INTPs and INFPs. Because even though INFPs have FI as a dominant function, SE polar is really locking you into a turn-based communicative understanding of the world. So, we cannot successfully be a complete human without engaging the past in some sense, and without engaging in the present in some sense, and without engaging in the future in some sense. I think one interesting kind of just fun thing that Taylor one time told me that seems to resonate as true is that everybody has, regarding the past, present, and future, one of them an optimistic relationship with, one of them a pessimistic relationship with, and one of them a realistic relationship with. I think that I'm optimistic about the future, pessimistic about the past, and realistic about the present. Cameron, do you have a thought on that? Did you hear that?
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, just that past, present, future, most people have an optimistic relationship with one, a pessimistic relationship with one, and a realistic relationship with one. I think I'm optimistic about the future, pessimistic about the past, realistic about the present. What do you think you are?
All right, past, present, and future, optimistic, pessimistic, and realistic. I think I would be bullshitting if I made it sound like I wasn't negative and shit. I don't know.
I think
you're pessimistic about a lot of things.
I think you're pessimistic about the future. I think you're realistic about the past, and I think you're optimistic about the present.
I'll go for that. Sure.
That's just my thoughts. Who knows if this is? I don't have any good reason to conclude that this is universally so. That this links to any mechanics or anything. It's just something I heard. I thought was interesting. It felt like true for me. I don't know if it's true for everybody or not. Elaine says she's optimistic about everything all the time. That's a lot of optimism.
I even love taking a shit like crazy.
No, Winston's mom, this is not like kiss, marry, kill. Okay, this is optimism, pessimism, realism. Those are different. The moving spotlight theory is an example of an eternalist A theory that subscribes to the dynamic thesis. First Last says, I feel the same way as Cameron. Muck says, I'm pessimistic about most things as well, but try not to be. I mean, the thing is, it's kind of weird to think about somebody being pessimistic about the past, because pessimism seems to be defined as a negative outlook towards the future, right? But can you please give a valid and sound argument supported by reliable evidence that your experiences of what time is are correct? Because my position on time is supported by general relativity. Oh, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about my experiences of time. I'm saying that anything that we can communicate about at all, explain, theorize, etc., anything you can possibly imagine, no matter what, always supervenes on human observation, which means it must come after human experience, human observation. There's nothing we can reference, experience, anything like that that doesn't first require human observation. So what I'm saying is, when we choose to pay attention to time for the goal of determining, say, things about astrophysics, well, we're going to make predictions. Like the theory of relativity makes predictions, predicts black holes. When the technology comes into play, they discover, yeah, in fact, hey, there is this. Makes predictions that um, that this wobble in the orbit suggests another body that's not visible currently, and then you find it later. Those kind of things, right? Those are all great things. You can actually test the difference of the speed of time and clocks in different places, different heights, etc., and with different movement. And we have, we're finding enough instruments now that you can, in fact, measure those differences. That's true, right? So, what kind of time are you talking about then? Are you saying, like, whose time are you talking about? Because when you try to imagine time, what relativity tells us is when you try to imagine time, it has no conceivable definition except via the observer. It's not possible to time travel except in the following way. If I move fast away, close to the speed of light, and come back, um, relative to each other, a lot more time will seem to have passed for you than for me, right? You will have aged more than me. So in that sense, I will have time traveled into the future. But that's the only kind of time travel, is time travel relative to an observer and relative to that which is being observed. Relative in that instance to two separate populations of observers, right? So as a consequence, when we explain time, we need to begin at the right spot, which is, how do humans deal with time? Like, what are the different possible ways that humans experience time? And there are two fundamentally. You can experience it as a turn-based phenomenon that is displayed by the way language works. I can read a book in twice as slow as you, but we both get the same exact amount of information. And it doesn't, and we get the same information. It doesn't matter the pacing of it, right? So it might be the case in some conceivable, like, theoretical dimension that we can try to articulate a space that has the features of not being observed. But in every instance, articulating any specific features requires they have been observed. Which is why I'm of the mind that the real missing mass, energy, etc. in the universe is explained by a heretofore unquantified force called observation. I know it's not a popular notion in physics nowadays, but I still think it is the case. Well, I mean, you might say that the people who, like the guys on the spaceship return to, that they've traveled into the past. They've traveled into these guys' past, as far as they're concerned, right? Because they should be as old as me now. They've been gone the same amount of time from my perspective as I've been gone from their perspective. They should have aged the same amount. But they're still so young. I've traveled back in time regarding them, right? So any time travel forward is regarding them, back is regarding me, whatever. There's no conceivable way to understand time travel except through that kind of mechanism, because there's not a single river of time that we're all flowing along in, right? It doesn't work like that. Time is a function of ontology, not the other way around. But I mean, I find these kind of conversations about time and philosophy stuff all fine and interesting and wonderful. But what I can't understand is why we are not talking about evolution. Because that is the most shocking thing. It's much more shocking than typology. I understand how it is the typology lost all credibility, right? Because you've got this cesspool of idiots all mewing around with their interpretations, and no clear thinking person would think anything of value could possibly be in this cesspool. So it's understandable why typology had no respectability. But what's not understandable is how come is that everybody thinks evolution is a meaningful explanation of where species come from or anything else, despite the fact that if you judge it according to science standards, it it bears no resemblance to what a good science theory does. It doesn't make predictions that validate. It's not. It's the opposite of relativity. And yet everyone's just cool with it. It's like Taylor once said about the drug war. It's the biggest human rights violation holocaust that everyone's cool with. Well, equivalently, evolution is the greatest science holocaust that everyone's cool with. They're not just cool with it. They're like, hey, don't talk shit about evolution. That's science.
Everybody had to pass tests saying like, I learned this, and we've all been indoctrinated to think that's the thing in our science classes. And at least since I've been in school, weren't you told like evolution was the thing?
Yes, but I was also explained what the scientific method was. How we evaluate theories. I also learned about plenty of other theories that do evaluate, etc. That do validate. Yeah, I know the sun orbits. The sun doesn't orbit the earth. The earth orbits the sun. You've got it backwards, Muck. You need to get with Galileo and have a conversation with him. The reason people favor evolution is because they think it's between evolution and religion, when really it's between whether we're telling the truth, that we have an explanation and this is what it is. I mean, that we don't know, or whether we lie, that we have an explanation and this is what it is. Those are our options. Because we do not know where species come from, the correct thing to say is we do not know. We know that it's not from evolution. But see, that's the crazy thing. It's like 95% of the world, if not more, thinks Eric must be cuckoo. Oh, he's one of those religious. Of course, I'm not cuckoo at all. I'm the one who's absolutely 100% the most correct about the subject. But nobody agrees with me. Although I think I made plenty of progress over the years. I think people who used to be 100% sure that they knew where species came from recognize that they don't really.
Has it ever come up in a debate that you were involved in anywhere? The evolution?
Well, I mean, it comes up in explanations you hear all the time. Like Jordan Peterson will explain some psychological processes as being the result of adaptive evolution. Back when we were hunter-gatherers, we needed this thing and therefore that. So encountering explanations all the time. But what is my main criticism about evolution? Well, it's that it doesn't meet its burden to affirm. So to be an adequate theory that we should affirm, it needs to have made already a bunch of predictions that have already validated and made basically no predictions that have falsified. Instead, all the predictions it made originally have falsified, and the explanation of what evolution is continually changes instead of being scrapped as it should be. The only reason people persist in believing in it is because it got positioned as the alternative to creationism. Well, that's not true that evolution occurs within the same species. It is true that differentiation within species can occur as populations are isolated because there's flexibility within a genome. What's not the case is that there's ever something born of two members of a species that's not another member of that species. There's never something born with a different number of chromosomes or some beneficial mutation that is sexually selected for. That's all been disproven a long time ago. It's not true that organisms gradually evolved over 4 billion years. There's been myriad extinction events. In fact, the vast majority of species in the fossil record came about over the course of about 10 million years. Even though we can't even evolve fruit flies over the course of 70,000 plus generations into anything but other fruit flies. Even though we've selectively bred dogs vastly more intensely than nature could ever selectively breed anything, and still they can make reproductively viable offspring with wolves. They're still the same species. Yes, we've selected them into these freakish, warped phenotypic expressions of the same fundamental genotype. That's why we have genomic fingerprints of things, so we know how many chromosomes a species has, etc. And anyway, it's absurd. We define a species as that of which, when there are two members of it, they give birth to another member of the same species that's reproductively viable. That's how we differentiate that lions are the same species, but lions and tigers are different, right? So it creates contradictory premises right out the gate. It's poor reasoning. It doesn't withstand any scrutiny whatsoever. If in fact the evolutionary process were correct, then you'd see creatures with very short generations evolving much faster than creatures with long generations. We should be easily able to evolve something like a fruit fly into a totally unrecognizable thing over the course of 70,000 generations, which equals the equivalent of 1.5 million years of human evolution time.
Do you think that Chat GPT would answer those questions with something like examples?
I'm not saying anything on Jesus. What did I say about Jesus? I am not asking for anybody to agree with any explanation for species. I'm asking someone to provide an explanation that actually makes sense. Because I'm not a stupid person. I looked into evolution because I wanted to understand it. Because I thought, this is confusing. I got to look into this and understand this a little bit better. Only to discover it is, as Muck says, a house of cards. It's built on a bunch of circular nonsense. It's begging the question. Evolutionary scientists continually forgetting that what they're trying to explain doesn't count as proof of their explanation. So it's like evolution is an attempt to explain the fossil record. And then you have evolutionary scientists say, the fossil record proves evolution. No, you dumbasses. Evolution is trying to explain why the fossil record looks like it looks. I mean, that kind of idiocy happens constantly in evolutionary science. I want an explanation that makes sense. So, for example, I understand why the continents appear to be drifting apart from each other. There used to be an explanation that said they're drifting apart because the Earth is expanding like a balloon. I understood that too. Okay, I get it. It's expanding like a balloon, so the spaces between the continents are growing. That would make sense. That's a perfectly good explanation. It makes good intuitive sense. Then there's another explanation. Actually, the continents are on tectonic plates that are floating on this semi-viscous material as though they were floating on fluid. It just happens at a very slow pace, etc. So now you've got two competing explanations for the same phenomenon, right? We have a phenomenon that's observed, and we have two competing explanations for it. So then each explanation makes predictions. Explanation one predicts that all the fault lines around the world will be going like this, because after all, the Earth is expanding. Whereas the other explanation predicts that fault lines will be jagged all around the world, because after all, they're on plate tectonics. It won't be down or up consistently. And in fact, when you look, it's the latter, not the former. And plate tectonics, therefore validated, and expanding Earth falsified. So this is how actual good thinking works, right? We can falsify and validate things by looking at the predictions a given theory or explanation makes and checking to see if, in fact, those predictions are correct or not correct. So, I am a evangelist for correctness, and I tend toward to do my evangelism in areas where I see the most rampant incorrectness, especially by smart people, and the most pressing need to be corrected. Because smart people shouldn't believe in evolution because they don't even know what they believe in. They don't know what the mechanisms are. You know, people affirm it around here, they don't know what they're affirming. I'm fine with the continents being giant turtles swimming around, but this is what I would say: if in fact the continents were giant turtles swimming around, the prediction I make is that periodically you'd see them poke their head above the water and take a breath. And I'd look at all the continents for places where heads might poke out of the water periodically, and then I'd use satellite imagery to try to see if there's any submerged things in those spots, etc. If we find no sign of any heads ever coming up for air, then we can conclude that there's not good reason to affirm the giant turtle theory. Also, you should see like flapper motions from the flappers. Tell me then, energy can't be destroyed nor be created. Energy is conserved. So how come we think when someone dies, he actually dies not going to the afterlife? I mean, that's not relevant to the conversation about evolution. Uh, like, think about it this way, ZZ Gaming. When I fill up my car with gasoline, it drives. Eventually, it runs out of gasoline. What's happened? Have we destroyed the energy? No, it's been converted into forward momentum and so forth, and exhaust, and been displaced in other ways into the world, right? So when we run out of gas, the energy that was stored up in the gasoline is no longer being converted into the forward momentum of the car, and as a consequence, the car no longer goes. We don't go, doesn't that break the laws of thermodynamics? We understand that it does not, right? I'm not saying that's the case with human beings, though. Okay, I think your argument's fine. I don't disagree with your argument because I do think that unless you starve to death, that analogy is not a sound analogy that I made. About the car. It's not a sound analogy unless you starve to death. ZZ Gaming, I'm not arguing against you, okay? I don't know what happens after you die. I'm perfectly willing and happy to believe in an afterlife. I just don't have enough reason to believe in an afterlife. I do self identify as a Christian. So I'm not opposing what you're saying. That's not relevant to the question of evolution. In fact, it's critically important we don't include religion in discussing evolution because no matter how well intentioned, any religious person who sides with me because of religious reasons is doing harm to the truth because you're just making other people think that the only people who don't believe in evolution are fundamentalist religious people. But that's not true. It's not that I don't believe in evolution, it's that evolution doesn't even know what it is. It completely fails to do its job as an affirmation. So there's nothing to believe in. Obviously, I don't think that God made everything is an explanation either. It might be correct in theory, I suppose, but it's not an explanation. I am a Christian, ZZ Gaming. You misread me. I'm not anti-Christian or something, or anti-religion, anti-faith. I just understand what faith is, right? Faith is a behavior that comprises the meat of your relationship with God. So, in other words, being a Christian means engaging in the behavior of prayer. Note that just as you don't only jog once you've won arguments as to why jogging's a good idea, so too is it silly to try to argue about what you are just, exercising the behavior of faith towards, because then you're trying to say, no, it's not faith. It's it's legitimately justified conclusions. It's substantiated conclusion. No, not a simple mutation in a cell's evolution. I mean evolution as Darwin means it, as evolutionary scientists mean it. I mean that because of mutations being somehow selectively advantageous, and a number of other factors like founder's effect, bottleneck, etc., that in fact genetic change over time differentiates subpopulations of a given species until they're so different that they become two different species. And that's where the different species come from. I'm talking about that evolution. The one that claims to explain why we have a branching fossil record and where all these species come from. My name is Eric, yes. My name is Eric. I live on the second floor. I live upstairs from you. Yes, I think I've seen you before. You know that song, Cameron?
Oh yeah. My name is Luca.
Yeah.
I am a left alone.
It's pretty sad song. It's about a child abuse person.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
I've never really been a lyrics guy. I'll like fudge the lyrics so bad I don't know what any song's about.
Do I have ADHD? Sometimes. Maybe not right now. Do you have ADHD? Let me look through my magnifying clue finder. You live in my walls? Do you? I am in California, USA. I live in your balls, Muck. That's right. I'm live streaming from inside Muck's testicles. Yeah, I mean, what they call microevolution is just adaptation within a genome. So, different population. If you get two populations of bears isolated with different amounts of food availability, for example, you're going to see one of the populations gets, the smaller ones survive better and get overall smaller, and another population, say, be bigger. And that makes sense. But what does that not involve? It doesn't involve any mutation, right? It's just selecting instances from a genome that are a smaller expression and making it more advantageous for that subpopulation of normal expressions of the genome, enough that eventually the normal expression of the genome phenotypically shifts down a size or something. Microevolution is going from 10 beers a day to 8 beers a day. I'm 53 years old. 53, but going on 54 in about 6 months. 6 months, I'll be 54. After that, I'll only have 150 more years until I'm dead.
Well, you might get bonus specials for lunch at coffee shops.
Can you get bonus lives by doing well in life?
Not bonus lives, but like 55 plus,
Oh, you mean a deal on my
salad
food?
specials.
Oh, I sometimes am given the senior citizen discount at the supermarket.
Bonus.
If they ask me, I say, no, I'm not eligible for that. But sometimes they say, and I did add your senior discount. In which case I'll go, okay. And I'm not going to be like, no, I'm not a senior citizen, take it off. Because then they just made it too awkward for me to turn it down.
I'm suing you for ageism.
Right. like a mechanic type situation. I don't know what kind of mechanic you're talking about. How many mechanics does it take to screw in a light bulb? Well, sure, there's lots of evolution on a non-special level, if you want to say, or special, meaning a level of the species. Isn't that funny to think that special means at the level of the species? But now we think it means retarded. Let's stand outside. Let's stand outside and pretend we're adventurers. Let's pretend we're wilderness adventurers. You want to? Let's see what's being said here. Today I opened a nail gun. It's not really relevant, but I did it. You know what? It is relevant. It's maybe the most relevant thing I've heard today. Because, you know, that nail gun started out as a nail slingshot. But gradually, over time, its power increased. Its mechanism changed from pulling back to shooting off gunpowder. Lots of things happened. I must do 10 jumping jacks once a day to stay fit. I mean, can I spread them? I mean, like, what if I do one an hour? Does that count as once a day? If I do 10 over the course of 10 hours, can I count that 10 hours as once? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There. I didn't use my full 10 hours, but would I consider myself posh? No. Look at me. Look at me. Am I posh? I got chili stains on my shirt. I got no teeth. How posh am I? If I were a spice, I'd be scary. I wouldn't be posh. I gotta go pee. I'm gonna just pee right over here. You guys can look the other direction because I don't want you seeing my wiener. It'd get me in trouble with YouTube. Thanks. I used to be a professional jack jumper. Then for a while, I shifted into being a squattationalist, namely a purveyor or I guess a master, you would say, of squats. How many people here currently think I am still the master of squats? 85%? 90%? Because the truth is, I'm no longer the master of squats. Apparently, there's a young fellow in China who can do 1,000,000 squats in an hour and a half. So, he's the new king of squats. Now they just call me the king of squat. Uh-oh. Yeah, I've run the gamut of all the calisthenics, you know. I've done the touch your toes. I've done the, what do they call those things? Where you go, pow, 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 pow. You go touch over here, touch in the middle, touch over there. Put your hands on your hips. What are those called? I'm not an alpha dominating male. I'm the quintessential beta male. Okay? I'm into long-term relationships and making my wife happy. And keeping her away from more manly men for fear they'll steal her away from me. I guess you could call me Sigma Giga Chad. But Cristiano Ronaldo, I am familiar with him, yes. He's a sad character at this point in his life. One point, he was at the pinnacle of the soccer world. Now he's kind of sad and trying to cling to glory that's long past, trying to take claim for other teammates' goals and stuff. Sad. Plus, they made that really horrible statue of him. So, that's 2 tragedies. Too many for one man's life. But, I'm not going to feel too bad for him, I guess. Like, even when he's, 80 years old, Portugal will still put him on their national team just to make him feel good. Okay, Ronaldo. Yeah, you're still one of our best forwards for sure. We're going to get Pele out of retirement as well. What the fuck, bro? You're a nerd. Well, I know a lot about shit, Why is there something instead of nothing? Yeah, that's the big cosmological question. And there's no good answer to it. The most kind of smug and unpleasant answer is because if there were nothing, we wouldn't know about it. Hello, everyone. I'm going to school. Finally, you're the first one in your family to go to school. I am so proud of you. There's no good answer to that question. The possible answers, even the conceivable possible answers, still don't answer the question, right? So the closest you can come to anything that qualifies an answer to the question would be like Stephen Hawking style expanding, contracting universe that's in a continual loop for all time, and there is no beginning or end. But that's not an answer, right? It's and that's as close as you get to an answer. The other thing is Big Bang. It's not an answer because what was before that is obviously the question, and what caused it to go from a state of non-banging to banging all of a sudden? Why did it bang bigly rather than smallly? There are no answers to these questions. There's an attempt to invalidate the questions by saying, well, time was meaningless then. Remembering that time is a way that we understand and explain things and experience and create and do stuff in life and such, that answer is inadequate. So you might say, well, aliens created all of this. We're just the, terrarium of super aliens who put all of us here, all the species here, and who made the moon, and etc. But that just pushes back the question to, well, how did they come about? So there's no way to get to the bottom of this question as far as I can tell. I've thought about it plenty. As far as I can tell, there's no satisfactory resolution of the question. I think it's primarily because we're dealing on scales of time and space that are so much out of whack with the scales of our life that it's impossible for us to operate intellectually in ways that explain to humans meaningfully, in ways that they can resonate with at all, any kind of explanations, We do our best to say, oh, this light is from this many billion years ago because it's from this far away. But there's even a lot of astrophysicists are questioning that now. They're saying, Well, it's possible our constants, our so-called constants, are not constant, and that they've shifted over the course of the time of the universe, which would explain a lot of anomalies potentially. If the constants aren't constant, then that's why the predictions aren't. We aren't getting the results that are predicted. When many other predictions from the same model, we do get results. That's what's so confusing. That's why they come up with dark matter and dark energy, right? Because by and large, the existing model, the predictions of it do validate. But when we start looking deep into the path towards the origin of the universe or whatever, the microwave background radiation, then the numbers don't add up like they're supposed to. There's supposedly all this missing mass, missing energy, but we don't see that looking locally. So what's the deal? Well, I always said dark matter and dark energy are bullshit. You just say like, our prediction didn't come. Our prediction didn't validate. Well, let's make up invisible shit that makes it such that our prediction does validate. Okay, well, we predicted that that bear will weigh 200 pounds. Then you weigh the bear, it's only 100 pounds. You go, okay, well, then it's got 100 invisible pounds. We just can't weigh, but they're definitely there. Because our prediction couldn't have been wrong. Do I seriously think Egyptians didn't know math? I think Egyptians knew math. I think they knew addition. I think they knew subtraction. I think they knew long division. I think they knew multiplication, maybe. They might have even known counting. But I tell you what they didn't know. They didn't know how to use an alphabet to write words in regular ways, and that's why they had to carve a bunch of pictures of people like that. So, fuck you, ancient Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt.
Take that, motherfuckers.
I'm gonna take a nap for a bit, Eric.
All right, you do you, Cameron. Thank you for all your help with things today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It's always fun.
Wow. I don't even know if they even knew counting, to be honest. I think they might just have had three numbers. One, some, and a shit ton. You know? They only had three numbers, and they only had two hieroglyphs to represent all of society. There was the one where it goes like this, and then there's the one where it's like a dog head thing, you know. Oh, many ways. Phantom force. What you do is you take an abacus, submerge it in about 6 feet of calculators, cover that with liquid mercury, and then cast a magical spell over the top. This is the way things worked in the ancient world. Okay, how do you think they made the Colossus? How do you think they made the Great Wall of China? How do you think they made the lesser well-known Good Wall of Vietnam? How do you think they made boats? How do you think they made, how do you think the ancient Greeks came up with nuclear bombs thousands of years before Hiroshima? You think they did that without any math? No, they did it with abacuses. Give me enough abacuses and a place to put the lever, and I will move the world. I actually agree with you, ZZ Gaming. I do not believe the ancient Egyptians built the Great Pyramid of Giza. I don't know who did. I'm confident humans did. I don't know how to explain the carbon dating of the Great Pyramid of Giza, but I will tell you this much. But I'm not sure how you carbon date huge blocks of stone anyway. I don't know. I just don't buy it. I don't buy that the ancient Egyptians built the Great Pyramid of Giza. I believe Chinese built the Great Wall of China. Okay? I believe that. Even though that's also very impressive. And I believe that, There was once a giant statue somewhere called Colossus that stood over some harbor. I believe that happened. That was there. They could do that. The Great Pyramid of Giza, though, I just, I just don't, I just don't buy it. The the amount of cutting of huge blocks of stone that they would have needed to have done with the very poorly designed tools for that job, I just don't buy it. Not in 20 years, which is purportedly the amount of time they spent to make it. Oh, it just stood on one side? Okay. The Colossus of Rhodes was real, but it didn't straddle the harbor. It just stood on one side. Okay, that's fine. I'm willing to believe a Colossus, right? Because look, you can assemble something like that by using cranes and pulleys and lifting up um, things higher because, first of all, you don't have this shape, right? As you get closer to the top of this shape, it becomes impossible to crane because you got to crane further out, right? So you can't pulley shit up. No matter how many people you have, no matter how strong the rope you have, no matter whatever, you can't pulley it up because you're not going to have a strong enough crane. Certainly not in the Bronze Age. I've heard explanations like, well, you flood the surrounding area and float these things up. I mean, uh, it still doesn't explain how you like move it off of whatever you floated up to its spot where it's supposed to be. Like, and you'd have to make huge. It's just the amount of. First of all, the claim is that it was made in a total of about 20 years. That is just inconceivable. I don't care how much manpower they had. I don't care how much ancient world technology they had and how many man hours they could put into it. There is no way they could do all that in 20 years. No way. I don't think the ancient Egyptians could do it at all because I think you need at least Iron Age tools to do it. Mostly the problem is cutting the stones, cutting the big stones. They're all cut to size, you know? Yes, they did invent the first computer, but that would be called an analog computer, not a digital computer. Analog computers are things that they're like models of the solar system, where if you move one analog to something in the larger system, it moves the other analog to something in the larger system in the same way, or at the same values, um, but scaled. So, like, yeah, that anti-Kythera mechanism was purportedly, most likely, one of those kind of analog computers where you put in the location of this thing and set this mia and the other things move in keeping with it. It's like done with a bunch of like these gears are linked, so when this one turns twice, this one turns once, but they have the ratio is much more precise than that. That's called an analog computer, where the various components in the computing system are analogs, physical analogs to something else in a system elsewhere. Whereas digital computing doesn't work that way. Yeah, but again, an analog computer, not a digital computer. So I think that I forget about Abacus. I think Abacus is digital, maybe, but I'm not sure. Right. So if we understand computers though as machines that compute solutions to things, then if I input the location of Jupiter in the sky on this date, then when I input that and turn it, it'll turn everything else in the system a certain ratio accordingly, so that when Mars moves to here in the sky, Jupiter moves this much, Neptune moves this much, etc. So in that sense, it's a computer because it's computing the locations of those things for you rather than you having to do it yourself with pencil and paper. But it's an analog computer because the thing you're inputting is actually an analog for something in the system that is linked analogously in ratios to other elements in the system. If you do, I'll subscribe to yours. If you subscribe to mine, I'll subscribe to yours. I'm not interested in doing that. I don't even say to people, hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I never say that. Pretty much never. I almost never say, don't forget to like either. So, yeah. In other words, I'm too cool for that. I don't care. Okay? Get over it. I'm just that cool. Do you know when we got LED screens for computers? I do not know when that was, but sometime in the last 25 years, I would say. You're not sure if you can carbonate rocks or carbon date rocks. You can carbonate rocks, but I still wouldn't recommend drinking them. The ancient Greeks also invented Greek fire, which was equivalent to napalm. True, yeah. They also invented a little something called the Olympics that we still celebrate to this day. Please tell more about unified God force when four fundamental forces are combined. I don't know anything about that. You got me. I don't know anything about that. I've never heard of this God force before. Is it like a super powerful, like, wow, kind of force? Like, wow! Is that what they say a God force? I think I might need to go drop by the neighbors for a second. I think I'm going to end the stream now. So I'll see you guys later. I'm going to go talk to the neighbors for a second.